Welcome to the Sparkling Lives podcast, the place where we share stories behind the people and we hear the lessons that they have learned through their lives. Today we have a special person with us, and it's a Norwegian man that I met on LinkedIn, and one comment led to another, and here he is today, and it's a warm welcome to Kristian.
Hello, thank you. Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited about this. It's actually my first podcast that I'm doing I've done one podcast before, and that's in person. And then I used to record some myself, but my first time doing it like this, so it's kind of almost a bit weird. I was a bit nervous beforehand, but here we are, and I think it's working out.
Yeah, I think it will be really great. And I've always also been nervous for this because we are both Norwegian, so this is our foreign language. But you have a English girlfriend, so you talk English all the time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would probably say it's weird that he's doing this in English on like a Norwegian podcast. But so the main reason is that I have an international following, and I want to be able to share this with them. And I also, like, my ambitions, and we'll get more into that later, is like my ambitions have never been Norway. It's like always international. And so for me, it's important for me to be able to communicate in the language that I want my future, whether that is clients or following community, the same language as they communicate in, or be able to communicate to them. And also, like you said, my girlfriend is from the US, just outside Boston, and obviously I want her to hear this, but also because we've been together for 4 years, and since we met, it's been a change in the way of me thinking, because I think in English, we speak English all the time. Like, Norwegian is not actually the language that I'm using the most these days, and I guess that's why I want to do it in English. And everything that I know in terms of my profession, I've learned in English. So I don't even know all the Norwegian terms for this.
And I love hearing this because the post that I found you in was that you was wondering if it was okay to speak English. And you have international ambitions, and many people in that common field answered that you should go in Norwegian and reach the Norwegian people. And I'm the other way around, because I'm also thinking internationally and with high ambitions, but it's not quite allowed in Norway, I feel. So I love that we are speaking English.
Yeah, I think it's cool, and it was an interesting discussion on that. Like, I think that finding that balance of, okay, who do you want to reach today? It's like, okay, do I want to reach out to Norwegian people on this because they are my target group on this specific topic, or whatever my message is? Then yes, it's great to use Norwegian. But we do live in a country, and we'll talk more about that later too, but about janteloven, which is like the law of jante in Norway, which is, I guess, notorious for not really creating people like you and me who want to go our own way and do something different.
Yeah, and I search of the term for the law of jante. I think it sounds so weird. So I got a cool sentence on this, actually, and that was the cultural norm discouraging individual success and pride. And I just,
yeah, that's the definition.
That's the thing.
Wow.
But the talk is flowing. Yeah. And I really want you to introduce yourself to the listeners.
Yeah. Well, my name is Kristian Warwick. I live in Oslo, Norway. I'm from Trondheim, which is like, they say it's the middle of Norway, which is actually not. But I grew up there, having parents who founded an organization themselves. So I guess, like, from very early on, I was brought into the world of creating new things. And I have a younger brother. And then for, I guess, 15 years, almost 15 years, I was a full-time athlete. I was a speed skater. And so I spent every day, every night trying to become the best speed skater in the world. Unfortunately, I didn't reach that goal. And I did represent Norway. I'm very proud of that as a junior. I was top 10 in Norway as a junior, which is like, I guess the more distance I get from, or distance I get to the skating and those results, then I feel that I'm more proud of what I was able to accomplish. But it's also something that has been hard for me to kind of deal with. And so I was very happy when I at some point found that I'm actually pretty creative. And so in 2017, I picked up my first GoPro camera and opened my first editing software. And from there on, it's kind of been a fun journey from there to me being a full-time filmmaker and photographer today. I run my own company, and and like I said before, I have an American girlfriend, Christine. Have a dog, his name is Oakley, and a cat, and his name is Leo. They're the same size, and I don't know if it says the most about the cat or the dog. The cat is a Maine Coon, and he's 8 kilos, so it's a big cat.
Is the name of the dog because of the glasses?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, because I saw a video on YouTube where you have lots of Oakley glasses.
Yeah, I have been a huge fan of Oakley since I was 9 years old, and I remember I probably would have said that my biggest dream when I was 10 years old was to just own a pair of Oakleys. And so when I got a dog, because the dog is mine and the cat is my girlfriend's, kind of, but we both obviously love them both equally. But then it was no doubt about the name. It was Oakley. And so, yeah, that's why.
Does he have his own glasses? I hope so.
No, he does not. But
no,
it is funny because a month after I got him, Oakley, the brand, became one of my clients. And so I did I did a shoot for them. And then I had to bring him into their office at some point because he was just a little puppy and he needed to come with me. And so then I have this photo, I'll send it to you, of him as a little puppy on this bench, but in front of this huge poster of one of their like biggest models or most popular models. And so that was kind of cool. Obviously, it was, I don't know if it was embarrassing or cool to tell them that my dog's name was Oakley.
I think either way they loved it.
I think so. I do think they did.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You have quite a story. And on this life journey that you have been on, you have experienced so much. But I really want to know 3 strengths that you really feel that you have as a person. Who is Kristian, and what's your biggest strength?
Well, I was thinking about this last night, and I was like, what are my biggest strengths? And I think that previously I would have, come up with these things that, like, my strength is that I'm good at making videos, or I'm like athletic or something like that. And then I realized that the 3 things that I thought of, they are very much connected to each other. And so it's like, first of all, I'm super ambitious. Whatever I'm doing, it's like everything is driven by the ambitions that I have. Whether that is running a marathon or building my own company, making my next video. So the ambition of always getting better or reaching that goal that I set for myself, that is like the foundation, I would say, for my life. And then the next one is that I'm working towards my goals. So like the ambitions that I have will create a goal, and then I will work towards that goal, and I will work very hard. And sometimes, I'm not saying that I always work in a smart way, but I would say that I usually work in a way where I feel like, okay, I'm smart about this. So like if we go into the training part of it, it's like I'm training at the right intensity. I'm sleeping enough. I'm having enough rest. Like I'm not afraid of having one more rest day than a lot of people. A lot of people would probably be like, "Oh, I really need to work out. Like I don't have time to rest." So working towards those goals, hard work, but also smart work, and then the last one, which is I just have to pick up my phone here because that is definitely the foundation for everything I do. And I preach this in business, in life, whatever it is, and that is kindness. So being kind. And I think that is one of the things I remember I said to my dad a few years back. And I think a lot of people can relate to, like, you have parents, they teach you things, they kind of give you values to live by. And a lot of those values, the things, whether those are specific or not, the things that my parents taught me, some of them I'm bringing with me to my life. Some of them I might be like, okay, I'm going to find my own way here. But I told my dad that there's one thing that you guys taught me that I will always remember and always bring with me, and that is being kind. And so being kind to people around you in every situation. And I think that it's almost like dangerous to say that kindness is the foundation for my success as a filmmaker, because then it sounds like it's cynical. It sounds like I am being kind just to get my way. But that's definitely not the case. It's like some of my clients are people that I would probably invite to my wedding just because we created this relationship of trust and we're kind to each other. And I think that, it's a long answer to my qualities or my strengths, but I definitely think that kindness is the most important part. But if I add kindness to the ambitions and the hard working or working towards those goals, I think that sums me up pretty well.
I'm sitting here and thinking like that's the perfect recipe of success, because at one point you have the ambitions and goals that's kind of high and you can be a striver and you can always chase. And if you don't have the kindness that keep you down to earth, it can be a large gap, but the kindness keep the success level like in a good place. So I really love that three strengths. That's amazing.
Thank you.
I think that's your recipe for success in your business, because when you say it, it's just obvious.
Yeah, it was actually very interesting to get those questions from you beforehand, and having to reflect on it. And then I was like, wow, that is probably why. And I'm not saying, like, I don't want it to come off as me being super successful or anything, but it's just like, to me, it's, I remember the day I realized that, I can make my own living. Like I've created my workplace. Like, so, and I don't think we should define success as this or that, because it's different to all of us. But definitely, like you're saying, in terms of getting to the places where I want to go or where I want to be, those things are, I mean, even in a relationship, right? Like if you are not ambitious in terms of how long you want to stay together, and if you're not working to do those things that that will make sure you actually do stay together forever. And if you're not kind, you will not get anywhere. It will end up in a breakup, I think.
Yeah, and I'm also taking on this. I can't say that I'm really successful, because I think that that's up to you to decide if you feel that you are really successful. For, as you say, that everybody has its own kind of success. So if I would ask you, and the law of Jante doesn't exist, would you say that you are successful?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's taken me a long time to be able to just say yes, I think so. But I'm with an American, so I guess like it's kind of wearing off. But I think that I am, and the reason is not about numbers. It's not about like how much I made or how much my revenue was. It's more that I guess in a way, like I had a dream, I chased that dream, and now I'm living that dream. And to me, that is success. Yeah. So, yeah.
And I love that we come to the conclusion that you are successful, because I think it's the way that we are taught to think that we can't say that we are successful, because we are using others' opinions about success to our own. But it's so important to say that, yeah, I think I'm successful. So I love it.
But what about you? What would you say if you got that question?
Oh, now I would say that I was successful, and that's because I've been working for some time to find a joy in what I'm doing, and it's been a struggle. So it's not a long time ago that I would say that I'm not successful, but the only thing that have changed since then is my own thoughts. Now I really feel like the sky that has been really gray for some long time, it's a sunny sun.
Nice.
It's a sun that lights up the way. So and that come with this podcast, actually, because for me the entrepreneur journey has been very lonely. And when I just have been working for myself all the time, it's been a part of me that's been missing. But then I started to get to know people and hear other people's stories. And my mission on this world is to lift others up. So when I started doing that and not thinking so much about myself, the sun was there. So yeah, today I will say I'm really successful.
I love that. That's great. Yeah. And I also think that like an important thing to add to that is that I might feel successful today and you might feel successful today. But just like you didn't feel successful like a few weeks back or months back, it might be that tomorrow we also won't feel as successful. And like it comes, at least for me, it comes and goes in waves. Like I have moments of feeling like, wow, I can't believe I accomplished that. And then I have moments of being like, this is not working out. I suck at what I'm doing. I suck at making videos. I suck at taking photos. I failed at that project, or I am not getting enough. Like, is my business sustainable enough? All sorry about that. And all those things I feel like are you just have to learn to live with it. It will come, like you will have one day of it feeling great and another day of feeling bad. And I'm not saying like this is not mental health, but more like just, it's like you're saying, it's thoughts, but it could also be things that happen here and now. Like the client was not super happy, and then it's just like, oh, I'm not good at what I'm doing. And then you have a new client the day after being like, we loved your work. You always deliver great work for us. And then you're like, oh, I'm on top of the world.
Yeah. And I think it's just that the all around feeling for me, many of the last months, the last year has been like a gray sky that's over, but it's happened really good things as well. But the lights have been just sparks and they disappear. The gray sky is the thing that has been there, but now it's shifted, that it's the bright sun that's all always there, but then it's the sparks with the negative thoughts and hard times, but then I go back to the other. So I think it's like you say, it's life, it's ups and downs, and
It
we are
is.
strivers, so we are
Yeah.
always putting ourselves in situation where we need to up level ourselves, and that's tough, that's
It
hard.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. It is. Yeah.
And as we speak, I'm just so interested and waiting for hearing your story. So I would love to take me and the listener onto a journey of your story and where you came from and how you build yourself.
Yeah. I mean, like I told you before our call or this podcast, is that I've been wanting to share this story for a while because, like I said, I grew up in an amazing family. So family and home, it was always a safe place, a place that I loved coming home to, whether that was coming home from school or preschool, whatever it was. I was just like, I still love my parents and my brother. But in school, it was really hard. Like I never fit in to what or to the school system. So I had too much energy. I was talking too much. And I also, from a very young age, really liked girls. So I would get like, I guess in a Norwegian would call it fall in love with, and maybe that is also an American would say that. I've learned that those are two very different terms of like being very interested in and being in love with. But I think that all of those things combined kind of made me a difficult case for the teachers. And then I think there's a fine line between obviously me being a bit of a difficult case or like harder to handle than the other kids who were perfect for the school system, and the handling of that. And I think that, so for me, looking back, I would say that it was 7 years of hell in elementary school. It was just, did not feel like they understood me, didn't feel like they saw me. I felt like they thought I would be a failure. And so I remember leaving elementary school, or up until 6th grade, I did not really feel like I was mastering anything. It was just like this one time, and I can remember it vividly, that we were running. We were doing something in like physical education, and I was running, and I realized, oh wow, I can just run and run and run, and I'm better than most of my classmates. And I was like, that's interesting. I feel I'm really proud of what I'm doing. And then there were obviously other things throughout elementary school where I would feel a little bit good at what I was doing. But like overall, when I look back, that is my impression. That was the first time. So that means that I was like 11 years old before I actually started feeling like I was good at something, which in my opinion is pretty sad. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about elementary school. It was hard. Whenever the phone rang at my parents' house or at home, I was scared because I thought that it was the teachers calling to tell my parents that Kristian's been a bad kid again, and you need to like take care of this. So looking back, I would say that it's amazing how they were not really handling things themselves, but rather try to like bring my parents into everything, and just made my everyday life kind of like, I don't know, something that was not necessarily scary, but uncomfortable and didn't make me feel very good. And so I remember, was it 6th or 7th grade, where my parents were like, okay, Kristian, now we have been playing this game of, or probably not game, but we have been supporting the school in every way since 1st grade. Like whenever they told us that you have been a bad kid, we would talk to you, we would do this and that. And I never felt like my parents were unfair at all. That was how it was. And then my dad was like, from now on, we want you to judge yourself. We want you to be the one being responsible for how do you think that you were behaving, or how was your day. And we also started, my dad and I, we started working out before school. So like I was in 6th or 7th grade, and at 6 a.m. I would be up and I would be working out, like proper workouts, because I just had so much energy. I've never been, there was a teacher once who wrote a letter to my parents being like, I don't want to like tell you that he has this, but maybe ADHD is like, which was very unreasonable. Like it was not his place to do that. But like now looking back, and also today, I'm like, maybe I have some letters, maybe I have some ADHD. I have no idea. But anyways, working out before school really solved a lot of the problems, and at least for me, and that in combination with being able to like judge myself instead of having the teachers do that helped a lot. But that didn't change. So that made me feel better the last year of elementary school. Did not change the fact that I felt like every teacher, or most teachers, not every teacher, most teachers in my elementary school looked at me as this troubled child, like this kid who would not get anywhere in life. I have
Can
to
I
emphasize
ask a
that I don't know if,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, go.
If it's somebody who are listening to this, and it's three kind of people. The first one is the kid that you were, and if it's someone who really resonate with your story, what would your? I have three questions. So, what would be the thing that you would tell that person who are struggling the way that you were?
Oh, I'm getting emotional. You asking that question. Thanks for asking that. I would say that like it will get better. There's and I'm not. This is not in the cliche way of like, oh, things will always get better. It's more like you're in a place right now where you don't fit in, because we don't fit into the school system. That's not. It's never really gonna change unless you have a teacher who is thinking outside of the box. And so I would say that, okay, you're in elementary school now. I know it sucks. It feels like forever until you're done. But just go. And I think like that is the difference. Today we have social media, which is, it can be really dangerous for kids to be on social media. But like seek those platforms, those people that have those stories that can tell you that it was really bad. Like for me, it was bad, and there's no denying that, and there's no changing that. But I am still able now in the community of, whether that is YouTube, where I've learned everything that I know today, I've been able to see people who were the same and they're so successful in what they're doing. And again, like not necessarily in terms of money or anything, but it's just like they're very successful, happy human beings. And I think that is something that we need to remember, that it's horrible that we don't fit into the system. Why is there not in 2024 a solution for kids like me and for the kid that you're referring to who's listening to this? Like, why is there not? And I think that we're talking a lot about this in the school system, but it's also, if you have like a normal job, that will also be the case for some people. I think that you go through life and you're like, oh yeah, this is just how it's supposed to be, right? You're like, you don't love your job, and you're just like, my boss is expecting this from me, and he or she is not seeing those qualities of mine. It's just like, get out of there, do something else, follow your heart, and figure out what it is that you love to do. Casey Neistat, like one of the biggest YouTubers, filmmakers in the community that I am very much a part of, he said you need to do a lot of the things that you hate to do just to kind of figure out what it is that you love. And I think that is the same with this. You need to see that, okay, I don't fit into the system. That probably means that these jobs or these places, these people are not for me. This is my path. And honestly, like I'm if anyone listens to this, I'm so happy if anyone just reaches out, asks me like, what was your experience? How did you get out of it? What was the most important thing for you to do? Because I think that is like my biggest passion in life, except for the things that I'm doing daily and my family. That is, helping, inspiring, and motivating kids, but also teachers and parents to like how to handle those things.
Yeah, and that's the two other questions, but because the first is about parenting, I would say that I love what your parents were doing eventually, because they were starting to think of you instead of the school. And I just love that approach. And if you would have a recommendation for the parents who are the good parents, but I have a child who are experiencing the school as a hard place, is there anything they can do?
Well, I think that the most important thing you have to ask yourself is like these things that the teachers are calling you about, or right? Like we had this book, like, you send your kids home with messages, and it didn't have all those internet platforms that you had today. So there was like, and this book was full for me after 2 years. And it would be like, Kristian behaved like this today. He did this. It sounds super old school now. I'm 31, by the way. I forgot to say that in the introduction. I'm like I'm not that old, but it still sounds super old when I'm talking about this. But I would say that the majority of the things that they wrote in those would be like, Kristian was restless while we were having a walkthrough this morning. And it's just like, restless? Does that really matter? Like, it's so back to what I said about the three things or my strengths is like, my parents taught me how to be kind. And I think that as a parent, if you see that your kid is kind, I mean, if we're talking bullying, you have to be strict. You can't let that pass. Like, I remember there was one case with a girl that I was really mean to when I was in third grade. I was grounded, like actually grounded. I was not allowed to go to school because that was like, that's not okay. And I love that my parents taught me that early on. But if you have to kind of consider not the importance, but like how much do you want to like punish your kid for being restless or for talking too much? Right? Like, those are not things that will make the world a worse place. And so that is one thing, kind of differentiate those things that are important and not important and this is up to the parent, because it's like their values, whatever it is that is the most important to them. But I do think that the things that the school values is not the same as society will value in the long run. And so being supportive, and I have to say my parents were the best throughout all those years. I never thought that they were unreasonable in any of those things. And I think that the way they handled it was still great. But I know that my dad said at some point that I wish we did that earlier, of like, considering you and your own evaluation, kind of like more than the school. And so I think that it's a hard question you're asking, but it's a very important one. I think kind of just considering what is the most important, and don't be the teacher's voice. Like, be the parents. Show the kid that you still like love him or her, and that is the most important thing ever. Because I know that if I didn't have such a resourceful home with parents like that, I don't think I would have been where I am today. Definitely not. I think that I would have ended up somewhere else, and I don't want to think about where that would be.
And I think you are on spot on something there, because it is many people who also has it struggling at home as well as at the school. And where can you be yourself if nobody are recognizing you? So the last question to this is, if you were a teacher, what could a teacher have done to see you and to help you realize that you are enough just like you are, and you're not different because you are loud or likes to talk. You're just human.
I think that to answer that question, I want to just keep going with my story, if that's
Yeah,
okay.
perfect.
Because so when I left elementary school, I was so ready to be done with that. But I also had like this feeling inside of me, like almost revenge. Not like revenge that you see in the movies. It's like, I'm gonna be mean or anything like that. But it was more like, I'm gonna prove to them that I am a better kid. And I think that the biggest issue in elementary school was that I never got a second chance, right? Like you're not the same kid when you're 12 as when you're 5, but still the school had an impression, a picture of me being like, the picture that was painted was that I was this kid that they probably would call they would probably tell the substitute teacher that this guy, Kristian, he's going to be a challenge, right? Like, and that's where the bad things start, when the expectations for new teachers or substitute teachers, like that, they are already there. And so I start, like when I got to secondary school or middle school, I got an amazing teacher. And like, this makes me very emotional to just think about or talk about, because first of all, the school, I remember if it was a principal or just like the vice principal, he said something about, we do see a lot of cases of kids coming from that exact elementary school. They have these, like, almost books, booklets of information. And they were like, it's funny because all of those issues or challenges that they bring with them, or that they tell us about, we don't see those in this school.
Wow.
And that tells me that it has nothing to do with the kids. It's the teachers. And I remember starting like 12 years old, and then Anna was her name. And she started the day saying that you are Norway's future. And that we were going to, like, I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional talking about this, but I remember she broke it up with being like, but today the weather is too nice to start working on those things, so let's just go out and have fun or something like that. And then the thing that she did was that she really saw me, and she became more of a friend than she became a teacher, or like, this great combination, not being more of a friend than a teacher. She was always the authority, like the one that we knew that we had to respect. But she made it clear that we needed to respect her, and she made it clear that she loved us. And I remember it's like, if I was sick for a few days and I came back, she would tell me that she missed me. And so like, and she would also, so I don't know what you call, like what you even call it in English, but it's like they would give you like, like this bad cross of things that you did wrong, and that would kind of affect your grade. And in Norway, we have this grade system for behavior, which is silly in the first place, if you ask me. But I remember it was like the rule was that if you get X amount of these, then you will you will get like a worse grade in this. And I remember she gave me some, and I was like, now it doesn't really make sense because I've gotten quite a lot of them. But she called them like hormones, like in love cross or something, because she saw that the reason I was like restless and all over the place was because I fell in love with a new girl every week, and I was not able to like stop being in love, so those things that she did. And then in 8th grade, like at the end of the year, we were told that she was gonna start working same school, but like to the new eighth graders the next year. And so we're obviously super sad. And then she said that she gave us like this kind of speech when we were done, and she's like, when I'm telling people that I'm working, when people ask me what I'm working with or what my job is, I'm not saying that I'm a teacher. And I was like, is she embarrassed? Like, why doesn't she want to tell people that she's a teacher? And she's like, no, I'm working with diamonds. And
Wow.
oh my God. And then she was like, every day I'm polishing diamonds. In the beginning, they're like raw, and there's like, she didn't say there's nothing to them, but more like, they're not finished, and they're not necessarily the most beautiful diamonds. But then every day I'm polishing these diamonds, and at the end they're beautiful diamonds, and I love them all just as much, like equally. And I remember, like, that's when you realize that your teacher really loves you. And I think that is, so to answer your question about what is it that a good teacher should do, it's like show you love, show you that they love you and respect you, and that you're important. Like, that is, I mean, what happened that year to me was that I started getting great grades. Like, I was one of the best in my class. Like, my best friend and I, we were amongst the best ones to have the best grades. I was working so hard. I was, spending more time with my homework than anything else, just because I wanted to prove to me and to the teachers from elementary school, but also because I wanted to, like, she made me passionate about school and the things, and it just didn't become this boring thing that I used to feel school was. She made me fall in love with history and with Norwegian as a language, like, everything. And I luckily we got a new great teacher when Anna quit, but there's a lot of stories that I could tell about those two teachers that they changed my life, and they are the reason why I'm here where I am today. Definitely.
And I think it's so much appreciation in what you are saying right now. And I think it's so many teachers that has that capability to influence the child that they have to take care of. And you can do damage, but you can also get people to bloom. And I'm so grateful for the two teachers, because you are here today and sharing your story. And I know that this story will help somebody else. I think it will help parents and people who don't feel like they belong, and teachers. I know for a fact that being a teacher is a hard job nowadays. They have a little time to take care of the people. But when listening to your stories, I hope that they see that the most important thing that they are doing is seeing the people. And it's kind of easy. See the person in front of you and let them be them and let them bloom. And that's the most important job.
Yeah, I mean, I was jumping a bit ahead here, but I probably won't really touch in on that part that much later on. But I was studying to become a teacher at some point. And then when we were having our, like, call it internship, or, like when this was the first year, and we were working with the kids. We were I think we were at a school for like 2 weeks. And then there was a kid there, and he was just like me. Like, he was a copy of me. Too much energy, super nice, just like kind kid, but too much energy, didn't fit into the system. And they had a couple of those. And so I'm obviously just based on what I experienced myself, I'm kind of seeking those kids. And so I was like, I told him, you know what? You're just like me. I know exactly what you feel, what it feels like. And I told him, I could tell that he was like, yeah, you're right. You see me, you like, and And then at some point I had to walk out. I was in charge of the class, and I had to walk out with this other kid. And then I told all of them, I was like, I expect you guys to sit down, work, be quiet, because I need to go out with this kid. And I was like, this is probably not going to work, because this class was also the kind of class that I could recognize from my class, where if the teacher left the room, it would be total chaos. But it was not. Like, I came back in, and their teacher was also there. He was like, that has never happened before.
Wow.
And I remember, and I honestly, I don't think that has anything to do with me being a good teacher. It's just like you're saying, or maybe that is being a good teacher, who knows? But just like, I saw those kids, they respected me, which means that my word had much more of like a meaning to them. Like, it was something they felt like they had to listen to. And so I could see that some of my co-students, they took more of the approach that my elementary school teachers had, of like, being frustrated and be like, oh, being a bit more upset, which is also very understandable. Like, honestly, I understand that is the approach that you turn to, and especially when it's your first year. But I think that for me, I was a bit older than the rest, and I had that experience, and I had role models. And that, I think, is, there's, because I want to go back to having public speeches about my good teachers. And then there were a lot of comments about like how, when I posted this on LinkedIn, that I want to take that, like pick it up again, there were a lot of comments being like, oh, I wish that people didn't really had to experience those bad teachers, and we need to focus on that, how bad it is. And I agree, but I also disagree, because it's like, we don't need to focus on those bad teachers. Because if you ask me when I was in elementary school, like, what could the teachers have done differently? I wouldn't be able to answer the question you had for me before. I am able to answer that question because I had Anna and Rita, my teachers in middle school, because they were great role models for me. They showed me how to be. And I think that it doesn't matter if you're a leader, if you're a parent, it doesn't matter who you are, what your role is. You can always look to those two teachers, and they will show you how to lead and how to be.
Yeah, and I wonder, why did you left the teacher career?
Yeah. So after middle school, it was high school. Do you want me to answer the like that question before I keep going, or do you want me to like jump in on that when we get to that in the timeline?
Yeah, we can get to that.
Okay. Yeah. So 2008, I quit, or like I graduated from middle school, and it was time for high school. And then I was very sensitive to like sounds and stuff. So when I started high school, I actually, because of anxiety, I had to like just quit school. So I had a year of not doing any school. My dad was just amazing, because I tried to do it for a few weeks, but I was really struggling to be in a classroom. And so I was like, hearing the ventilation, and I just got the anxiety from that. Kids being pretty cruel. What I didn't mention in elementary school was that in addition to having that hard time with my teachers, was that I also was bullied. So like I had 1 to 2 years of being bullied, like told that I wouldn't accomplish anything. And then secondary school was great, just because like teachers, I did well in school, suddenly had a lot of friends. I was still not popular amongst girls, but I had a lot of friends, and I was like one of the popular kids to hang out with. And when I quit high school that fall, my parents were great, because my dad was like, you don't have to go to school this year. We take a year off. It's fine. Um, so I had a gap year, and then I remember there were some kids in high school there who just, I was a weirdo, right? Like very different, and I had my own website, stuff like that, and you have like this guest book thing on the website, and so I remember this kid, or a few of them, some of the same kids that bullied me in elementary school, they would comment, like make fun of my anxiety, because I was very open about my anxiety. Like I would tell people why I quit school, what was my problems, like, like, so they would just write things like ventilation, like, like kind of making fun of me, which at the time I don't think I even thought about it as much. Just looking back now, I do. And I actually saw the same guy posting something on LinkedIn the other day of like, I'm hiring, and I was like, I would never do that, but I was almost tempted to comment, being like, well, if you're hiring, I hope you're a nicer guy than you were in high school.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
I would not comment anything like that, but it's just that still is like, I think those people that kind of just, yeah, if you have people that were mean to you at some point, you will always feel something about it, whether that is being really sad or full of revenge or whatever it is. I think I've used everything that I've had as struggles as a revenge. But then in high school, things kind of changed. So when I had this gap year, I found that, okay, I want to go all in for speed skating. So I started working. My dad is a 2-time Olympian in speed skating, so he knew a lot about like how to become one of the best in the world, and so he helped me make a training program. I remember telling him, like, make me a training plan that will make me the best in the world. I don't care how much it is, just make me the best in the world. And so we did. We were a great team. That year I had so much progress. And I think at the most I was working out like 35 hours a week as a 16, 17-year-old. Some would probably argue that is too much. But so that kind of transitioned into me being a full-time athlete. And then school just seemed less important. I did start again. So I did graduate from high school at some point, like the year after I started again. Things were better. Again, school they were very nice and kind. Like they made sure that I didn't have to attend all classes, that I could do my tests from home, all of those things. And I think that, again, it just comes down to trust, right? Like they trusted me, I trusted them. And that meant that if I had a test at home in my own bedroom, I actually wouldn't cheat. Like I wouldn't use the book that was next to me, just because they showed me the trust, and that was important for me to kind of show them that I appreciate that, and I'm not gonna take that for granted. But after high school, I was then 19 years old, didn't really know what I wanted to do outside of skating, but skating was like still my full-time thing. And I knew that my parents would like me to do something else than just skating, like study or do something. They were never like, you need to be an academic or anything like that, but it's more just, would think it's more healthy for you if you do something else than just speed skating, which I totally agree with. But my problem was that I never really figure out what that was. I couldn't really figure out what I wanted to do. So I started a lot of different things, like psychology, business and communication, sports science, like all the things you can think of, and also trying to become a teacher. And so as the results as a skater, kind of like I had some progress for a few years, and then there was no progress, and then I kind of just started skating slower. Things were not really going my way. And then fast forward to 2017, when I found that like the camera picked up, a GoPro camera, started working with that a little bit. Videos were awful, like awful, really, really bad. I had no idea that I was a creative, like not at all. I never thought that I would ever work within the creative field. I knew that I had like an imagination, like, you know, that was something that was sometimes even an issue for me, but like I had an like vivid imagination. And then so as my results started like going down, like no good results and more time filming and editing, I also was studying to become a teacher. And so I think it was just after the situation I explained with that kid that I told that it's like, you're just like me. I quit. And that was because I started getting jobs as a filmmaker. And I kind of realized that this is my passion. But most importantly, at that time, I realized that I'm not able to change the school system. Like it's actually going to be too hard for me. I had a kid who told me that he wanted to kill himself. And I told the principal, and they didn't want to act on it. They didn't want to do anything. They were like, yeah, but he told us that before. And I was like, well, the situation is different. Like, this happened at home this weekend. We need to take this seriously. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be able to sit here and just look at other teachers. Like, it doesn't matter what I do. I still have to look at other teachers and principals treating these kids this way. And that was too hard. And this obviously comes off as a bit harsh, I'm sure. But I don't think I would fit into the school system even as a teacher.
I don't think it's harsh. And I think it's a really important choice you made there, because I think people like you who are so kind and have that big heart in that story, you would be eaten up by the system. And we don't want that. Now you have created a opportunity for yourself to talk about this with no rules, and you can affect a lot more people than just one class or one kid. And from the bottom of my heart, I really hope that you use this story out there in the world and let people hear it from all over the world, because I think it's so many small Christians that are sitting there and having a really bad time. And I think it's people who have the parents at home that are keeping them alive. It's not long ago since I met people who are working with what is it called, with prisoners in Norway. And it was one guy who was abusing of drugs. And it all started with him being bullied at school and not fitting in at school and not feeling at home where he was living. And then kind of a mafia came along and took him under their wings, and they cared about him.
Yeah.
And then he became a drug abuser and a really bad guy on the surface. But I think it's more underneath. And I think that we are all kind people if we get to be seen and get to be heard. So I really hope that you will use this story to help people, because you have now started talking with it, and you have held some presentations about these stories. I hope that this will be something that every teacher needs to hear. And it's a part of the school system to learn it, and for parents. So yeah, I just wanted to say that your story is so crazy important, and I think it will affect a lot of lives. And I'm also so grateful that you have been the strong people or the man who always have put yourself in the driver's seat of your own life. Because yeah, you had amazing parents and you had amazing teachers at some point, but you are amazing human, and you have always
you.
cheered for yourself and choose yourself. And that is so crazy important. And the ambitions and the goals and the kindness, it's you. So I hope that you can take that away with you, and also give yourself a huge kind of credit, because this is on you as well. You are the most important people who have made this a success story.
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
So I'm so lucky that we get to hear your story, and I want to hear because we are in 2017 or something. What's happened the last years?
Yeah. So you mean like between 2017 and now, right?
Yeah, like the rest of your story.
Yeah. So we were 2017. I think maybe 2018 is when I kind of just quit like my studies, and because then I was asked. So I guess like you're saying that I was maybe the driving force to like make things happen, and I think that one of the things that I never really let go of was that I was this person I always stood out. I was different than everyone, and although that kind of caused me problems in school with other kids, it kind of just created this. I never stopped. Like I didn't change at all. I didn't adjust to society. Maybe in some ways of like, okay, maybe it's smart in this occasion to not be the crazy one, like being able to read a room a little bit better, because I think that was maybe not what I was the best at when I was younger. But I was still being me, being a bit weird, not being afraid of, posting all of my work. And so all the videos that I made from 2017 and up until 2019, they were just video blogs, like vlogs that I was making. And like I said, they were pretty awful videos, but I was having a lot of progress. I was getting better. I bought myself a proper camera, and because I was posting these things on YouTube like every week, maybe between 1 and 3 videos a week. Some things of like, tutorials on how to do this, which I never should have done, by the way, because it's like I didn't know enough about things back then to do that. But a lot of like weird transitions and fancy editing that I thought was fancy at the time. But anyways, it was enough for this guy who was following me to be like, hey, we are having this trip this weekend with a company that I'm working for. Would you be willing to come with us to Italy? It was like this Marcia Longa, a very long cross-country skiing event. And I was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, yeah, we can't pay you, but we will pay for the trip. And I was like, sure, that sounds cool. Went on this trip. I remember I was like a bit talking to my mom, should I go or should I not? Like, I don't know anyone. And she's like, yeah, go. Like, you'll probably regret it if you don't. And that kind of just kickstarted my whole career. So this was January, February 2019. Came home from that trip, and then one of the Audi dealerships contacted me the day after, because he was a part of the trip. This was a trip with like people they were working in different places. It was not like an organization. They have just organized a trip for a lot of people who wanted to do this race. And so that ended up with me working for Audi and Volkswagen or a dealership for them. That was like my first client that actually paid for my work, I think. Before that, I had done I had some paid jobs with some like local speed skating clubs, the Speed Skating Federation, and so we kind of just started rolling from there. Like the snowball was rolling. Between May, I like to be pretty transparent on the numbers of my business. So like between May and December that year, I think I had like a revenue of 430,000 kroner, which is like $40,000. And you know, like I was pretty happy with that because I came from being an athlete, didn't earn any money. I had one sponsor at some point, which I was very grateful for, but it's like not that kind of money. And so it's like, oh, cool. This is great. This is 2019. And then 2020 starts out great. Like as if I was looking at the last 12 months from if we look at March 2020, which we all know what happened then, but like and back to March 2019, I think I must have had like maybe 600,000, which is like first year of getting paid as or having services that I'm getting paid for, and that is the revenue. It's like, wow, that is amazing. I was still living in Trondheim, and it's just like, okay, this is cool. And then I was traveling with the Norwegian speed skating team full time, almost from the July and until February, like until COVID, really. And so doing all of those things and making a music video for Sony Music and having Audi as a client, just like suddenly working with pretty big brands. That was just surrealistic, and I did, yeah. And then COVID hit. I was like, oh, okay, we're back to ground zero. Luckily in Norway, we had this great solution of still getting paid some, and then I was like, okay, let's do a comeback as a speed skater. That's it. It still bothered me a lot, like, and it bothers me to this day that I didn't reach my goals. And so I decided to just go all in. I was working out a lot and moved from Trondheim to closer to Oslo. Long story short, didn't work out. The comeback didn't work out. But in between there, I met my girlfriend, who is she was living in Oslo. And so met her and started having a lot of fun, realizing that, okay, life is more than just speed skating and performing, stuff like that. And then I had to start all over again in Oslo, because like it was after COVID. That was one thing. Like we're after, it was still December 2020 when I realized that, okay, I'm done with skating and I have to build up something here. Then I started Wild Studio, which is my company, and started that with a British photographer. And it was rough in the beginning, you know, like questions of like, should I do this? Should I keep doing this? Should I just get a job somewhere else? Should I start studying something else? And my girlfriend was very supportive. My parents have always been supportive of doing those things. So like I said before, they were, even though they said that I should do something on the side, it didn't really matter. Like they thought it was great that I wanted to pursue video. Like that didn't really matter if I was teaching myself, because I'm self-taught. Like everything I know is from YouTube, and they didn't care about that. My girlfriend was supportive, being like, you should just keep going. And obviously I had some friends who were like, but are you sure you don't want to, like, don't you want to be something? Like, don't you want to, you know, I was like, oh, yeah. What do you mean be something? Like, not everyone will like be a doctor or an engineer. Like, yeah, it doesn't, I don't need to have a title after finishing school. And so then it just kind of escalated. I ended up being number 2 out of 200 for a job interview for Red Bull. They decided to hire internally. So I was like, okay, that's almost like a victory for me. Then they came back to me the next summer asking, like, are you still interested in a job? I'm not saying that I would have gotten it, but they like at least called me asking me if I was. So I was like, sorry, now I have my own company. And then, yeah, things are just, I mean, it's been crazy the last 4 years. So going from that to having like 2.3 million revenue last year. And I mean, as an athlete, I think that the numbers are kind of what pushes me. That it pushes me to like, measure how well I'm doing in terms of the business. But the most important thing to me has been like working with the brands that I always dreamed of working with. So I dreamed about working with Red Bull. I dreamed about working with Oakley, and I've had both of them as clients. Yeah. So I guess that is the story. But to add to that is that all the people that didn't believe in you or thought you were a bit weird, or the same people will also be the ones that are like, they think that you're cool, or not saying that they want a piece of me, because I'm not there. I'm not like Justin Bieber, where people are like, oh, it's so cool to know Kristian. But it's more like I can tell that I'm being treated a bit differently by some people just because of what I've achieved or who I've worked with, or which I think is silly. It should not be like that. And I also I will probably never forget who was there when, like, to support me. That is the most important thing. And everything has been driven or motivated by all those challenges that I've had, whether that is like from people or from other challenges that I've had. But I do know that I'm actually grateful to elementary school today. Not because I think anyone should ever have to experience that, but that has been my motivating factor ever since. Like, I almost want to, show up at their office, be like, hey, do you remember me? And although that it might not sound like a very positive motivation to have, it's still been the one thing that has been just pushing me and made me who I am today.
And I think that's so important, because the motivation and the reason for doing something, it's different for all of us. And that you have used your story and transformed it into your strength and to push you to where you are today. And I am sure that it's many people today who sees you as a role model and really looks up to you. And I don't know the quote, but as you said, people who were mean to you before are starting to say, oh, I know this guy. Yeah, he's my friend. Just because you have got the success, and now they want to be your friend. And I think that's just crazy. And I want to say one more thing, because we have two stories here with two different lessons. And one of them are the human side of this, how you have turned your story into your strength. But I know that many people who will listen to this is also entrepreneurs. And you said something really interesting. And that was that you posted a lot of videos and it was terrible. And you wouldn't maybe do that today. But those terrible videos are what got you to where you are today. And for all the people who are listening and feeling that they are trying, but they're not perfect yet, it's so important to start, because it can lead to 2.4 millions in revenue. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I that's what I think that I think it doesn't really matter what you're doing, especially in the creative field. You need to put yourself out there, because if no one knows what you're doing, how are they supposed to reach out if they need your services? And so for me, it's kind of awful to look back at those videos today, because, and I'm not necessarily talking about the quality of them, because we all have to start somewhere, but more in terms of these were vlogs, and I was acting weird, and he's like, hello, welcome to this vlog. And and also now, a few years after, so living with an American kind of changes your English a little bit. So now that I probably sound less Norwegian now than I did when when I was making these vlogs. So then it was more like, hello, welcome to my vlog. And, like, so.
I need to go back and listen to this.
Yeah, it's entertaining. And I did a lot of like fun things, very, very proud of some of the things that we did. We made some music videos, like made some songs. My brother is a music producer. So we like teamed up and made those songs. And, publishing or posting things all the time, that is the foundation for, in terms of like the business side and the perspective of like, how did you get to where you are? If people ask me like, so how did you get those clients? It's like, I just posted everything that I made. And then you don't need to have more than one person who sees that and finds that to be good enough to use you. And then something might happen. Like, I think that when I see creatives who are saying that they want to work with filmmaking or photography, and I don't see them like, practice it or post any of their stuff, it's like, well, are you just expecting people to reach out to you just because you told your girlfriend that you're a photographer? Like, it doesn't work that way. So I'm not saying it's easy. It's really hard to make it as a freelancer, and there are hard times. I've had several times, and also after I felt like things were up and running, where it's just like, oh, how am I going to get my salary next month? But like you're saying, you can't be afraid of posting things. It will never be perfect. Like yesterday, I posted a video because I've been documenting my marathon journey. I started running marathon last year. And then I made it. I don't think I looked through the whole thing before I posted it. I was like, doesn't matter. And then I started working on a new video. I like kind of forgot about that one already. And yes, I am obviously checking the stats after posting it, but it's still like you post it, forget about it, on to the next one.
And I think it's so important, and for entrepreneurs, this drive. For you, it's your story. For me, it's also my story. It's a kind of a different story, but we need to have something that fuels us, because it's not easy, but is worth it. So the thing of just keep going is so important. And I just love this. If you want to summarize the lessons for your perspective, the lessons from your life, I would like to say in one sentence, but I know that that's not working. So I say the lessons in one sentence, but just use as long as you want.
Okay, I'll try to keep it short, but I don't know if this is the quote you were looking for before, but Mahatma Gandhi, he said, first they'll laugh at you, then they'll fight you, and then you win, or something like that. Yeah. I think there's something more to that, but like it was kind of, and I think that is what I would say if I was to look at my whole life. It's just like, you have haters, resistance, like, or haters and people working against you, telling you can't do it. But in the end, you will make it. But it's also not the cliche. Like, my story also shows that I worked so hard to become a speed skater. But I think that all the hard work that I put in there, it didn't really result in me reaching that dream that I thought I would reach. But I ended up using that and benefiting from all that hard work. And then suddenly it feels easy to make it as a filmmaker. So, because that's the thing, that compared to how much I worked to be a speed skater, I have not worked even close to as much to become the filmmaker and photographer that I am today. So it's just like everything that you do throughout your life, it doesn't need to be about that specific thing. It will kind of add up and result in that one thing that you never thought that would be. But the one thing you still have to do, you have to work for it. You will not get it for free. You can't manifest something and tell you like, I'm gonna do this one day, and then sit lean back and watch Netflix. That doesn't work. But yeah, and also like Zlatan, he said that he needed new haters because the old one became fans, right? Which is very arrogant, and that does not count for me. But I think that it's important to remember that those, whether that is kids or teachers, I remember I was actually able to think of it in high school, being like, yeah, one of the kids who were, or the other people there who were, he was like mean. And I was like, I have to just accept that you are like this because this is where you are peaking, right? That is also arrogant to say, but like when you are bullied or people are being mean, you have to find something to just make yourself feel bigger. And I remember being like, I'm going to achieve great things in my life. And you being up there, being mean to me is probably the peak of your life because now people are laughing at me with you. But one day I'm going to be somewhere and you might not be laughing or having as good of a time. So, yeah, that sounds like a high school movie, but just, I guess my life almost was. Or is. My favorite TV show is One Tree Hill.
I would watch the movie. So. Yeah, I would watch the movie. So maybe you as a filmmaker can make this movie.
Yeah, I probably should.
Yeah. Oh, that would be great. Yeah. My dream is to be an actor. So I'm here.
Oh, really? Well, I'll call you up then.
Yeah. Wow, this has been an amazing talk. And it's so much that we can draw from this. And I hope people sit with pen and paper and will listen to it once over. Because, yeah, but it's so important. And it's a tough story with a huge amount of lessons, because you talk in a way that make me, and I think the listener, feel that, oh, how can I use this in my own life? How can I use the strength that you have created for you into my own story? And that's amazing. So I would say thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And once again, the fact that you are here today and you have created the life of your dreams based on your story and turned the stories into your strength, it's remarkable. And I really admire you for that.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. It's been great. Like I think I told you before for the podcast that it feels weird to, like, you know, in most relationships, or especially when you're like getting to know each other, it feels weird not to ask questions back, which is like, that's a bit weird here. Like I'm talking and then I get very engaged in our conversation, but it's not a conversation. It's just me talking and it feels a bit weird, but I'm very grateful to be able that you're inviting me here to share my story. I really hope that if anyone listens to this, and that doesn't matter if it's kids or people who want to just create something of their own. I think that like there's never been a better time to just go out there and do your own thing. And I mean, I think that something that everyone, like you, me, all of us, what we need to know is that it's not that big of a risk going out and trying to build something of our own. Because yes, financially it's risky, but what is the worst thing that can happen? It's like you have to take a step back and apply for a normal job. Like that is what I know. That if I fail completely, that the worst thing that can happen is that I need to be like an in-house content creator, which isn't that bad, but that is the worst that can happen. So I think that I will encourage everyone to just follow their dreams and do whatever they want to.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and
thank
I
you
will
so
sign
much.
to that. And I want to give you the possibility to promote yourself as well. We have talked a little about what you're doing, but where can people find you and what can you help people with?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I'm first and foremost a filmmaker and photographer, and I do work like with mostly corporate right now. Like, there's a lot of that going on, but the one thing that I'm like very passionate about these days is making documentaries, and I've seen a huge benefit in making documentaries for companies, and not necessarily in terms of them posting them externally, but using them internally to create like more, make their creating a better culture or make their employees proud. Because like if you think of a company that has 10,000 employees, and if they had a documentary that would motivate them to do a little bit better at work every day, just like 0.001% better, their revenue will be much better than whatever they're like. They will improve so much more in every part of their industry than whatever they would pay for in terms of the production itself. So there's been a lot of talk about lately within marketing that documentaries, like, that is the new genre for advertising, because it's just like, whether that is Netflix or whatever. Like, imagine yourself, if you're watching a Netflix show, like a documentary, and then you really start liking this main character or like this person in the documentary, and that person is wearing a Nike hat. Like, okay, maybe you want that Nike hat too, because it looks cool. And it's because you kind of get this relationship to that person. So right now I'm passionate about making those documentaries, but I also I make everything within film. Like, so from super simple productions to like high-end commercials, documentaries. It's and if you want to reach out to me, look me up on Instagram, like if you want to reach out very casually, or check out my website wildstudio.com, and it's WIILD studio. So it's like, we made a stupid mistake. Don't make that same mistake and base the name of your company on whatever domain is available. But it's Wild Studio with 2 I's in wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this is just awesome. And if somebody are feeling that I want to hear your story, or I want to have you to speak for my class or for my teachers or for my company, can they reach out to you for that?
Definitely. So that's something that I'm picking up again after summer, that I really want to share those stories. And that's like the story that I've told today, so parts of that, but going a bit more in depth on some of those things. But also, for entrepreneurs who need some advice, or want to hear the story from where it starts to where we have no idea where it ends. But that's definitely something I'm up for. And if people need to want to learn more about filmmaking or the business part of it, I also have a YouTube channel, which is just my name, Kristian Warwick, where you can follow that. And I think that I do hope that there's something useful to take away from that channel too.
That's amazing. So if you're listening and you want to reach out to Kristian, it's just to do it. He's not as scary as it seems, because on the socials, he seems really professional. So I told you before we started today that I have had a lot of podcast recordings the last days, but the one that I was nervous about was with you, because you were so perfect on the socials. So not be afraid. He's really kind.
Yeah, I hope it wasn't too bad.
It wasn't too bad. It was excellent. So Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for sharing your story, Kristian.
Thank you so much. It's really nice being here.
Thank you.